Have you seen any scary movies lately? Do you plan to see some this Halloween? Do you enjoy watching psychological thrillers? In today's episode of Videonium Sci-Tech, we will make an attempt to understand the psychology of fear. We will also try to demystify the science behind scary movies and psychological thrillers. We all know that The Conjuring was a box office hit in the year 2013. But how many of us know that the producer of the movie had struggled for nearly 14 years before eventually getting a go-ahead from a Hollywood-based film production studio? The Conjuring has plenty of jump scares, and it can drive you nuts. But then, why do many people, if not all, enjoy watching scary ghost movies and odd-sounding psychological thrillers? There are multiple reasons behind this, so let's dive in deep and explore some of those now. According to researchers, fear protects organisms by increasing their vigilance and preparedness, which in turn gears them up for life-threatening situations. During recent times, Finnish researchers were able to analyze the MRI scans of people watching horror movies. They discovered something absolutely interesting. After a sudden shock, such as a jump scare, increased brain activity was evident in regions involved in emotion processing, threat evaluation, and decision-making. The producers of horror movies exploit this physiological response that leads to increased excitement. Researchers from the University of California, Irvine, recorded neuronal activity using electrodes inserted into the amygdala and hippocampus of 9 people as they watched scenes from horror movies. According to the associated study, published in Nature Communications, a unidirectional flow of information from the amygdala to the hippocampus only occurred when people were watching fearful movie clips, but not when they were watching peaceful scenes. According to a report published in the journal Psychological Science, horror entertains us most effectively when it triggers a distinct physical response, measured by changes in heart rate. However, there's a fine line between getting scared and getting overwhelmed with fear. Movie producers, who know where to draw the line, end up creating the most successful scary movies. Early research by Zillman suggests that we derive our enjoyment of scary movies from the feeling of suspense. It's tantamount to the concept of catharsis, something extremely well known to good storytellers. A threat is introduced, suspense is gradually built up, and finally, the threat is resolved. When the threat is resolved, the suspense ends, and our brain experiences euphoria, presumably because the parasympathetic nervous system kicks into action and releases several feel-good hormones. This cycle of pressure buildup and eventual release works for all sorts of movies, such as scary ghost movies, suspense movies, psychological thrillers, and more. Moreover, people watching scary movies or psychological thrillers already know that they are experiencing the threat from a safe distance. However, this theory does not explain effectively why unresolved horror is sometimes as successful as horror with a cathartic resolution. Exposure therapy, sometimes used to treat phobias, provides some clues. For example, if we experience anxiety triggers in a controlled way, we can deal with real-life anxiety responses in a better way. The human brain knows this, and perhaps that's why it makes us watch and like scary stuff, as long as the threat is being introduced inside a controlled environment, such as a movie theater. According to other researchers, the pleasurable experience of constant neuronal stimulation motivates us to continue watching scary movies and psychological thrillers to sustain that level of stimulation. Personality traits also seem to affect the way we perceive scary movies. For example, people who have low empathy enjoy watching graphic violence, whereas people who have high empathy feel more delighted when the perceived threat is removed. Although stress poses problems in our day-to-day life, research shows that manageable bouts of stress offer clear benefits. For instance, generating an immune response that is capable of strengthening the immune system against bigger real-life threats. In other words, watching horror flicks and psychological thrillers is tantamount to vaccinating ourselves against real-life threats, thus catalyzing resilience. Finally, a word of caution. Studies suggest that exposure to horror films and scary movies can sometimes lead to abnormal stress, requiring psychological or psychiatric intervention. a condition commonly referred to as cinematic neurosis. So did you enjoy watching this video? Have you watched scary ghost movies or psychological thrillers recently? Do let us know in the comments section below. Subscribe to Videonium Sci-Tech for research that matters.